I'm sick of seeing things on the TV of kids dying of starvation in dirty water when we're spending money on increasingly sophisticated weaponry. And it all seems to be utterly futile, and I think it's got to stop. Because the end of it all is it could only end in a kind of Armageddon if this carries on.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
The desperate situation in Iraq, the rise of the very reactionary forces of ISIS, the civil war, the fragmentation of the country, all these things, almost everyone knows, all these things are a product of the invasion and occupation of Iraq that started in 2003. The idea again that what we need is more of the same, we need more Western bombs, we need more Western arms into the country is ludicrous and again has to be opposed.
We don't want NATO, we think NATO is a force for war, not peace.
NATO bomb people.
To wage wars abroad. They've really ratcheted up Islamophobia and racism, attacked civil liberties that have been won by generations of struggles. So I think a lot of people think that these wars are having a bad effect on our society, and we need to get out of this war machine.
NATO don't need to have a summit here or anywhere. They choose to create this disruption in cities around the world, when in fact the sensible decision will be for them to have their meetings in a hut, on a mountain, away from everybody else. They can have offence if they like, and just don't bother us, save us 50 million a year.
We're about to march to the centre of Newport. This is the first event in a series of protests against NATO. Make some noise! NATO leaders, CIA! How many years do
The situation this summer in the world is probably one of the most dangerous situations. If you add together Gaza, Ukraine, Syria, Libya and Iraq, if you add them together, you're probably talking about a more dangerous situation than anything we've seen since the Second World War. And they should look at the damage that they've done, they should listen to public opinion, and they should change their policies, and one of that changes in policy should be to disband NATO.
I want to tell NATO to stop saber-rattling in the Ukraine, because that's going to be a war where nuclear weapons could be used. So it's very, very dangerous. I want the governments of this world, I want our government to say, no, stop it now before it's too late.
5, 6, 7, 8! Stop the hate! Stop the hate!
We want to give them a message that Wales is a peaceful country. Wales want a peaceful future for our children. Wales want hospitals and schools. We don't want war. We want more and more weapons. That's the feeling, that's the passion that's running through this crowd at the present moment.
Not to NATO!
The big businesses and the council leaders may want them in Newport and Cardiff, but, you know, the people don't.
We don't want the NATO summit, we don't want NATO, and that's why people are demonstrating. They obviously have many, many different issues, from Ukraine to Palestine to drones, all the different issues, but we're here to say that the real terror threat doesn't come from the people David Cameron says it comes from these world leaders who are meeting here, who are embroiling us in two new wars, one in Iraq and one in Ukraine.
And how would you describe the strength of feeling here today?
I think it's very strong. I think there's people from all over Wales, there's people from other parts of the country, we have people from the United States and Russia here, we have people representing all sorts of different campaigns united against NATO as a force for war. We live in a period of austerity. We're told there's no money for anything. And yet you find these events which take place where Obama turns up, all the major world leaders turn up. They have these summits, they have these huge banquets, they drive around in limousines, everybody has their roads closed, the kids can't go to school. I think we'd be much better off, and I think the people in Newport and Cardiff would be much better off if the money that was being spent on this summit could be spent on some of the things that actually people need.
This weekend's march kick-started what the anti-NATO movement is describing as a week of no NATO action. And on Thursday, they're aiming to get their message right to the top.
How many kids have you killed today?
The problem with this summit is that the terrorists are inside the fence, not on the outside. This is a bun fight for people who are already rich, doing very well out of the armaments and NATO, and it's got nothing to do with ordinary people.
We hope that Thursday will be a Martin Luther King moment, a day of mass civil disobedience. We will aim to march as close as we can to the Celtic Manor to take our message to world leaders that we've had enough. And then in the evening, we're going to hopefully lay siege to the castle. You know, in our hundreds, we want to really take a message onto the streets to world leaders that there has to be a fundamental change in the world today.
And you described it as civil disobedience. It sounds like you're almost expecting or hoping for trouble.
Well, I think there are troublemakers coming to Cardiff, and those are the 60 world leaders. Their names are Obama, their names are Cameron, their names are Merkel, their names are Holland. These are the troublemakers who are spoiling it for everyone.
I fear this will be seen as a staging post. People will look back in history and say, oh, this is the place where they decided they were going to continue these wars, and that's what we're there protesting against.